Cool. Okay, well, good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are, which time zone you are in. Thank you very much for joining us today at the online launch webinar for the Fellowship Program 2027. In today's session, we will talk a little bit about the Fellowship Program and the process for application and selection. And we will hear something about the experiences of the fellows as well. At the end, there will be a Q&A session where you can ask your questions. So in the meantime, feel free to ask some things in the chat, but know that at the end, there will be some dedicated time for questions. Let me start with some housekeeping messages. If you experience any problems, please put a note in the chat and we'll do our best to help. And as I mentioned, the webinar is being recorded and the video and slides will be made available on the SSI YouTube channel after the event. So yeah, don't worry about any thing from the slides that you need to do, and all the information that I'm sharing here today is also on our website. But I'll make a recording available of this afterwards. You're encouraged to connect with us on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, or Mastodon, and subscribe to our newsletter. I'll post that link in the chat in a moment. And if you have any questions during this or afterwards or at any point, please do not hesitate to reach out to us via fellows-management@software.ac.uk. And then myself and others will be there to pick it up. Let me actually introduce myself. My name is Oscar Saib. I am the Fellowship Manager or the Research Community Manager from the SSI based at the University of Manchester. And I'm joined by some of the fellows that you'll hear about, and also some people from my team, including Catherine Inglis, who is our Deputy Fellowship Manager. And there's a larger team, and you'll hear all about our team later on, but you can find all that information on our website as well. Hi, Catherine. As I mentioned, questions for this will be submitted via Slido. I will put that link in the chat now. And I encourage you to ask it. There's also a little poll as part of that, a few questions. We're just curious who turns up to these meetings. That's part of the ways in which we try always to improve our fellowship program, who we reach out to. So if you have a moment, please fill in those questions as well. And as I mentioned, fill in the questions via the Slido. Very briefly, I've started with a bit of welcome and housekeeping. I'll start then with a little bit of introduction to the SSI and the fellowship program. Then we'll hear from our fellowship experiences. And then at the end, we've got a good chunk of time for questions and answers. The webinar ends at 12:30. That will be enough, hopefully. But if we go a bit over, then that's possible as well. But yeah, we hope to answer all your questions here today. But as I mentioned, if you do have any questions after this, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. So let me talk a little bit about the Software Sustainability Institute, or SSI. The Software Sustainability Institute was founded in 2010 as the first organization in the world dedicated to improving software and research. And it was founded on the idea that helping individuals and institutions understand the important role that software plays in research would help accelerate or improve progress in every field of scientific and academic endeavor. Now, over the years, the Institute has advocated for and developed an understanding of the fundamental importance of research software, its developers and users, its requirements, and how software advances research in the UK. The SSI also prides itself on being innovative, highly collaborative. We always say, like, collaborate, don't compete, and determined to tackle even the most difficult problems. And I should also say that the SSI works across all disciplines and people within communities who can make changes. Over time, we have focused on different kinds of projects, some smaller, some bigger, but all have made varying degrees of impact. And we are deeply committed to promoting equality, diversity, inclusivity, and accessibility in everything we do. The SSI in its current phase is a partnership of 3 UK universities, which is Edinburgh, led by EPCC, Manchester, where I am based, and Southampton. And in its current phase, it's supported by the UKRI through the Digital Research Infrastructure Programme. So at the SSI, we've got 5 major teams, big teams, working to advance research software. There is the community team, where the fellowship program sits in, and I sit in, which helps develop community practice by supporting the right people to understand and address topical issues. There's also training and software, which focuses on developing reliable, reproducible, and reusable software and delivering essential training to researchers. Then there is the policy for research, which gathers evidence to promote the role of software in research and shares insights with stakeholders to shape policy. Then there's the events team, which brings the community together through events like collaboration workshop, which you might have heard of, and the research software camps, which will take place in autumn as well. And these all foster knowledge exchange and collaboration. And at the center of that all is the communications team, which uses our platform to enable engagement, delivery, and uptake of our activities, while also amplifying the good work of others. So that is for a wider sector. So it's not specifically if you are a fellow, you can only use it. So if you are active in this area, if you care about research software, which I hope, attending this webinar, you are, feel free to reach out to us with any events you are organized. We're always happy to promote that. Now, specifically about the fellowship program. The fellowship program is designed, and I quote, to improve and promote good computational practice across all research disciplines and support those who are doing this important work. The fellowship program consists of 4 key elements. Each is designed to support our fellows in their professional development and engagement with the wider research software community. First, there is the financial support, where each fellow receives about £4,000 to fund activities such as workshops, training, and conferences, whether they're organizing or attending, so you can use the funds for both. For those who have completed their initial fellowship period, we offer the Further Development Fund, which provides additional support to continue the impact of their work and their professional development. Next, we have our mentorship program, where every fellow is paired with a mentor, helping them refine or improve their fellowship plans, navigate career pathways, and develop their leadership skills. And this support makes sure that the fellows can maximize the opportunities available to them. Another really important part of the fellowship experience is engagement with the SSI community and its events. Fellows are invited to take part in monthly All Fellows, community calls, study groups, and discussions on Slack. They also receive support to participate in our flagship events, including the annual collaboration workshop and software camps, where they can network, exchange ideas, and collaborate with others in the field. Finally, we have worked with cohort-based learning this year and the previous years, and we will continue that for the next cohort with some financial support from the Discourse project and in collaboration with OLS and the RCM cooperative, which is the Research Community Management Cooperative. Possibly others as well, but you'll hear more about that. This is an opportunity where fellows have the opportunity to organize or participate in peer-led initiatives, fostering collaboration, skill sharing, and knowledge exchange in a supportive environment. In terms of eligibility criteria, the fellowship program is really open to individuals at various career stages, from PhD students and junior professionals to mid-career researchers, professors, and RSC leaders. Fellows can be from non-academic backgrounds, including professional services roles, supporting training, research, or infrastructures. You also don't need to have any formal qualification in software development or software engineering. This is something that I want to stress because sometimes people think, oh, I need to be a software engineer to apply. That's not the case. There are two types of fellowships: the UK fellowship, where applicants must be UK based or affiliated with a UK institution or office. And then there's also an international fellowship where we select up to 3 international fellows, 3 or 4, for applicants outside the UK. And these applicants, for these applications, it's important that you demonstrate how your plans foster international collaboration, or how the UK research culture benefits from your unique perspective and or techniques. And you can view the full shortlisting criteria on the fellowship program website. And that's something we did last year. All our criteria, everything we do is on our website. So you can have a look there for full transparency. So what are we looking for in applicants? First and foremost, just a passion for software and research. And additionally, you could be a researcher who uses and or develops software or digital tools. You can be a developer who writes tools for researchers. You can be a research software engineer or RSE who contributes to the work of researchers with software or by maintaining digital research infrastructure. You can be an advocate for best practice in software use or development in research, or you can be an individual holding a leadership role in research projects or research organizations that make heavy use of software. Or you can just be a user of research software. So there's a whole wide range of people we're looking for, but that passion for software and research is the main eligibility criteria. Then, in terms of potential fellowship activities, this is just an idea. We welcome any other activities as well, but just an idea of previous applications. They can focus on community engagement, training, event organization, conference participation, community feedback, policy and research, and collaboration with funders. So this is a wide scope, and as I mentioned, I'll share these slides so you can have a look here. But one thing I would also recommend is to look at our website and our previous fellows about their plans, and you can see the wide range of things that they have done as inspiration. And there's also later, I'll highlight the video application guide where the fellows talk about their plans, which is part of the application process, but they're all available as well for you to look at. So these are really good as well. Some example of fellowship activities. Again, there's a big list. I'm not going to talk about it, read out the entire slide, but just a big list of some things that our fellows have done. So organized conferences. There are around sort of mental health, a lot of activities we've done as well, mental health in the research software engineering place. There are events, carpentries we work with a lot as well, packages that are developed, reusability, important thing as well, open life sciences, so starting some organizations that we help scale, and library carpentry was also one of the initial ideas that we supported. In terms of requirements and expectations, the program asks for about 8 days of win-win activities to engage with the fellowship program. So that's what we expect the commitment is of this. And that relates to, and in addition, we ask that you write a blog post for each supported activity. And attend the Fellows 2027 inaugural meeting, which will take place online. We also ask that you take part in the midterm review and attend Collaboration Workshop 2027, which is not really a requirement. It's something that you're allowed to do. We want you to go there, and it's really good place to see everyone. We hold regular SSI Fellows community calls, so we ask you to attend those, and then finally take part in a final survey on your participation in the fellowship program. Some of the self-reported benefits by fellows. In other words, why to apply? Why do you want to apply to the fellowship program? What do we offer in return? According to previous fellows, there are four main benefits, and I should say this is self-reported by fellows. Is not something we've defined, but this is with some research into this and interviews with them. Firstly, a lot of fellows talk about the status, so becoming a fellow enhances individual status, recognition, and collaboration appeal while raising their department's profile. So often it really helps highlight things that people are already doing and scale that and become sort of recognized for that. Professional development. The fellowship program advances careers through opening up new opportunities, training, networking, and increased visibility. Then there's a very important aspect of community networking. The fellowship offers networking, community building opportunities, advancing careers, fostering collaboration, and promoting sustainability across institutions. So that's also something to highlight here, that and to emphasize that the fellowship program works across all disciplines, all institutions, and all backgrounds. So that's a really nice mix of people you all engage with. And then finally, there's of course the money. So resources, that's also something that people have found useful. Fellows primarily use the funds to attend conferences, organize events, run training sessions, and initiate new projects. And I should have mentioned also that the fellowship program operates on the basis of once a fellow, always a fellow. So once you have your initial year, you will still have access to some funds. You can still participate in all the activities that the Institute is organizing. And some people later on become very active as well and continue to be active. Briefly here, previous applications, just to give you an indication of the rates of acceptance. This depends on how many applications there are. However, on average, we receive between sort of 60 and 85 applications each year, of which about 35 applicants are shortlisted and then 25 selected. So you'll see the previous year's 27, 25. We expect that number to be somewhere between 20 and 25 this year. And this includes up to 3 international fellows, but you have an acceptance rate of about 1 in 3, 1 in 4. In terms of gender, here's a breakdown from previous years. There is in the selected group a relative good spread across genders, but this can always be improved. So we want to encourage those from underrepresented groups or backgrounds to apply. And then in terms of ethnicity, here again, there is something that can be improved, but we're hoping to improve the ethnicity is something we are working on, and we are actively working with others as well to see how this through the selection process can be improved. But yeah, this is something that in terms of career stages, there is a nice spread as well, although many of our fellows are early to mid-career, and we've seen people benefit from that as well, but we want to specifically encourage junior and early career applicants to apply, because we know from experience that people will benefit most from the fellowship program. And additionally, we also want to encourage those from more experienced roles to apply, because they have a lot of influence when it comes to policy and getting better research practices enacted in your domains and institutions. If you have any questions about your plans and how they might relate to a career stage, is something that we take into account in our selection and shortlisting. If you have any questions about that, where you should pitch your plans, please feel free to reach out to us. We can advise on that. Then in terms of backgrounds, people who applied, You can see we get the majority of applications from mathematical sciences, engineering, technology, biological science, physical sciences, and computer sciences. Um, However, there is a big chunk, and we are keen to support fellows from other backgrounds. And the other group is also, there's a big chunk of people from the arts and humanities. But we welcome applications from all backgrounds and fields, as we believe the fellowship program has the greatest impact in disciplines and organizations that were previously underrepresented in the program. That's something we've seen as well. So don't be discouraged by that. If you're not sure, and again, I advise you to have a look at the profiles of previous fellows on our site to see the broad range of people and plans we have previously supported. Now, very quickly on the application process. The main part of the application process is a 6-minute, and that's maximum, voiceover of a slide presentation, screencast, and reviewers will base the bulk of their decision on it. Screencast sounds very scary. It's literally just Zoom slides, PowerPoint presentation that you talk over. That's all that is. So we don't expect any fancy editing or any of that. What this means, as I said, is that you will make a slide presentation, record yourself speaking over it, and we have provided guidance on a website for how to do this with tips and tricks on both content and technical aspects. This application guide also contains links to previous screencasts of successful applicants available on YouTube, so I encourage you to have a look at those. Again, all of this can be found on our website, but I encourage you to have a look at those. We suggest that you spend about a minute describing who you are professionally, 1 minute describing what you do, and about 4 minutes describing what your plans for the fellowship are, although you may decide to spend more time on any section. So these are guidance. If a video application is not possible or accessible for you, for example, due to disability, economic reasons, lack of equipment, or even if you just prefer to submit it in that way, we will accept a written application too. The written application should include the same information as above, be approximately 800 to 1,000 words, and include a brief justification, 1 or 2 sentences why a written application is being submitted instead of a screencast. And if an alternative application format would be better suited to your accessibility requirements, please do not hesitate to contact us at fellowsmanagement@software.ac.uk. Something I want to highlight is also that if you're not sure where to start, if your idea is suitable for the SSI Fellowship Program, then please make use of the application support offered by, at the moment, 20 fellowship SSI fellows, so existing fellows, by emailing us at fellows.management@software.ac.uk. Please include a brief description of your plans, and then I will match you, or someone from my team will match you with one of our fellows. I should say with this as well, you don't need to have like a complete specific idea here already. If you have a vague idea, please make use of this as well. We found that to be really useful as well. During shortlisting, your application will be assessed based on your ambassadorship, that's about 30%, and your plans for the fellowship. In terms of ambassadorship, we assess if you have a clear link to research software or the research software community, if you have any experience advocating, organizing, or participating in activities to improve research or computational practice in your area of work, and if you are a clear and effective communicator. So that's where the screencast comes in as well. It allows us to judge that. When it comes to the fellowship plans, we look if the plans demonstrate an understanding of the bigger picture and vision for improving computational practice in your area of work, and if you can articulate potential solutions as part of your plans for the fellowship and why or how your methodology will have an impact. So one of the things that was also previously recommended is that you think about sort of a problem. So what is the problem and what is your solution? That helps with the reviewers sort of assign and assess your application as well. One thing that people are looking for as well is if your plans are SMART, and that's the acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So, for example, keep in mind that you've got a £4,000 budget. So if your plans are about organizing three in-person conference with 50 people each, then a reviewer might say, well, how are you going to do that on £4,000 budget? So we do encourage you to be ambitious. You can push it a bit, but also realistic. And measurable is about how do you measure success? How do you show things that you've achieved? And again, you can see the full shortlisting criteria of the fellowship program on our website. The online selection day. So if you are shortlisted, you will be invited to the online selection day, which is a full day of group activities where candidates will be assessed on how they contribute to a session. So this is collaboration and communication skills, and what they contribute to a session. These are discussion or event planning contributions. The online selection day will take place online, as it says, on Thursday, the 12th of November 2026, from about, and it's a full day, so it's from 10:30 till 4, although we'll make sure there'll be a lot of breaks throughout, so please save the date. And then the final selection of fellows will be made based on the combined assessment of the candidate's performance during online selection day and the fellowship plans proposed in the screencast application. People have already asked, like, if I can't make that date for the online selection day, can I still apply? Absolutely. We just ask everyone to keep that date free if possible. And for those who can't make it and are shortlisted, we will organize an alternative online selection day. So don't let that be a blocker. Here is the timeline for the 2027 fellowship program applications. And the first one that's coming up is the deadline of the 5th of October 2026. We aim to let applicants know if they are shortlisted or not by the 3rd of November. And then, as I mentioned, shortlisted candidates will go to the selection on 12th of November. The final selection of fellows will be made, and that's sort of that I've already mentioned that. We'll make the formal offers of the fellowship to successful candidates by the end of November, and then we'll make the official announcement of 2027 fellows in December, and you officially start in January. And the fellowship here is 15 months, so you start in January until the end of March 2028 already. And I should say that you will be the last cohort of this phase of the SSI 4. But we are starting to write SSI 5. So, but be mindful that there might not be, or there's probably not going to be a fellowship next year. So there's always a gap year between the different funding phases of the SSI. But as I mentioned, we're writing next one, and hopefully we'll get funded again, and there will be one after. But that is something to consider if you think about applying this year or next year. Here are some final links. So these are the main two pages, the fellowship program and the apply page. On the fellowship program, you find a button on how to become a fellow. There's a lot of information in there, so it can be overwhelming, but we wanted to put everything out there for you to have a look at. There's also the application video guide, including links to screencasts of previous fellows. And again, here's that email address. I'll put it in chat as well. Any questions, feel free to email me. I'm always happy to jump on a call. I'm not officially reviewing applications, so I can give feedback and support as well. I'm just overseeing the whole application process. And that is enough for me talking. Thank you. And then we'll move on to some of our fellowship experiences by some of the existing fellows from previous years. So thank you very much to them. I've had a preliminary order with Jill first, if that's okay.
So thanks for that, Oscar. Yeah, so I'm Joe Shingleton. I'm a research fellow at the University of Glasgow, and I was a SSI fellow in 2025. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how my SSI fellowship ended up kind of completely changing my entire research path and had like quite a big effect, which is quite cool and hopefully something that will be inspiring for you guys wanting to take on an SSI fellowship. So my original plan for my SSI fellowship was the title was Building an AI Resilient Research Software Community. It was something that I was interested in. I was a research software engineer at the time, doing a lot of stuff in AI, and I'd noticed that AI is going to change the way we do research software, and it would be great if the community were kind of a bit more resilient to that. And I was looking specifically at Glasgow, and I was running a few training events on the use of AI in research software and trying to kind of establish community guidelines. And that's all great, except that 2025 was a very, very difficult time to be doing that, right? Because actually, the way we use AI was changing every month. The kind of best practice was changing. So you can train people to use AI in one way, and then it turns out that that's a terrible way to use it, and we should all be using it in this other way. And kind of that's reflected by the policy and guidance that was around at the time that was very, very difficult to track and often like very generalized. Typically, research guidance on the use of AI doesn't even mention coding, which is like slightly problematic. And the community was and still is very, very polarized on this topic of AI, right? And it becomes very, very difficult thing to do. So I realized actually this would need kind of as much help as the SSI are in this, it needs something bigger. It needs like a proper kind of research program of figuring out how do we solve this problem of AI in research software. And actually, the SSI fellowship really helped me establish that. So mainly through the mentor program. So as Oscar mentioned, when you become an SSI fellow, you are given a mentor and you have monthly mentor meetings. And these are really, really useful anyway, because it's just useful to speak to someone out of your kind of direct research community and someone who's kind of a bit separated from you to talk about your ideas and provide kind of advice. And one of the things I was talking about with my mentor, who's Luke Abrahams from Cambridge, was this idea of AI in research, and he mentioned to me about the UKRI Meta Science AI fellowships, which are 2-year research fellowships, and he helped me write a proposal. And having kind of my connection to SSI on that proposal really, really helped strengthen it because it meant I have access to this kind of big research software community. And I was eventually successful with my proposal. So now I literally do research into how we do research software engineering and how we do it effectively in this kind of AI era. And there's some stuff that I'm specifically doing with the SSI on that at the moment, some activities. The first thing is the Responsible AI Study Group. So this is something that I established with the help of Oscar back in the end of last year, really getting going at the start of this year, which is a monthly study group with SSI fellows, although now it's kind of opened to a wider community to discuss how AI is affecting people's work. And this has developed into, I'm now getting people from kind of external experts in to talk about different aspects. So we just had a really useful conversation with people who are interested in AI law and how we do kind of copyright and licensing with AI generated software, or if we even can. We've got some upcoming ones on how we do kind of skills and development in the kind of new AI paradigm and what academic integrity looks like when we're using AI. And this has grown into quite a large group now. I think there's about 20 or 30 people on the email list, which doesn't mean there's 20 or 30 people in the meetings, but it's growing and growing as a group, which is really nice. And it brings together people from lots of different institutions and different levels as well. So from like PhD students and research software engineers right up to kind of like research group leaders, which is really, really nice. Another thing that I've been doing with the SSI that's related to my UKRI fellowship is the Responsible AI Risk Register. So this is something that came out of the study group, and we noticed that a lot of the guidance on a lot of the guidance and kind of position papers that existed on AI use in research software engineering kind of were very generalized and were very, very high level and didn't kind of capture the nuanced and specific kind of things that practitioners were facing. So we decided what would be good would be to have this kind of living document where people, practitioners can suggest things that are affecting their practice through the adoption of AI and how those risks can be managed and mitigated and how likely and severe they are, basically. And this is a really nice tool. And in fact, I can show you what it actually looks like. Might be quite nice. Um, so so it's if I can find the yeah. So the register looks like this. It has lots and lots of risks that people have suggested with a description and how they can be mitigated and how serious they are. But the way that people contribute to it is quite intuitive. It's through just a GitHub page. Where people can just suggest issues to the for the register, and the issues are templated so it can be like a new risk. And what's nice about this, so like we can propose new risks and it has this nice template for people to suggest. And what's nice about doing it this way is that it means that if we go to any one of the risks and we can find an issue, then people can kind of like comment on it and can become this quite like collaborative process. So this has been a really nice kind of activity that we've developed with the study group, which is kind of providing this really nice platform um, for people to acknowledge how AI is affecting their work, and for kind of leaders and decision makers to have this kind of resource that they can use when making policies. So there's other ways in which the SSI is going to help in the future. As Oscar said, once a fellow, always a fellow. And just having access to that community is really, really going to help with the research that I'm doing on AI and RSE. And particularly, I'm looking at things like how we establish trust in our code and how AI changes that. And something that Oscar has suggested, which I think is a great idea, the Responsible AI Study Group, we're hoping to kind of develop kind of a certification process for responsible AI. If people want to join the study group, you don't even really need to be a fellow. You just have to be interested. Please do get in contact with me if it's something you're interested in. So that's all I wanted to talk about today, just the stuff that the SSI has done to help kind of completely change the things that I'm looking at in my research, which has been really, really cool. So please get in touch if you have any questions.
Cool. Thank you very much, Joe. And one thing you can see here as well in an example from Joe is the study group. So you can, if you have plans around a certain topic, you find others who are interested in it as well. You can create your own study groups. You can join existing study groups. We've got one on community building, and there are others as well. And what you'll see is there are a lot of our fellows focus on sort of the collaborative aspect as well, so the community building aspect there. Thank you, Joe. Then I'll quickly pass the mic or the word to Debs.
And I will struggle for a few minutes to share my slides. Is that the right tab? Can you
Yes,
see my screen,
I can see your
maybe?
screen. Yeah, and I can see your slides now. Yeah.
Brilliant. Awesome. Okay, I was not supposed to have slides. Sarah, forgive me. So I'm Debs or Deborah Udo, and I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of my fellowship project and specifically how the SSI helped make each and every one of those steps possible. I will begin with an intro. I'm currently a scientific community manager at EMBL, which is one of Europe's leading life science laboratories in the beautiful city of Heidelberg. Previously, I was community manager and RC for OLS, which SSI, which Oscar has referenced quite a bit today because of their integral role in the fellowship as well. But for my fellowship program, I am the executive director of a project called Precedes, which I will spend the next 20 minutes telling you about. Kidding. So Precedes is an open curriculum aimed to teach research skills, but to people who have no core background in academia, so aspiring researchers or citizen scientists, or to be a bridge for research software engineers that have come from non-academic or non-research oriented backgrounds. It's a modular, self-paced course, but also delivered as a workshop. And this is also an example of what Oscar mentioned earlier about goals being really smart and not overly ambitious. So this was the project timeline for Precedes. And I will show you how each of these months turned out to be and the role of the SSI. So for the very first thing we did was to establish a foundation for the project by way of creating a governance committee and also an advisory board, a 4-person advisory board for Precedes. And yes, we did spend quite a bit of time on this, and most of that time got to be covered from the SSI fellowship. And a very important part of us creating this curriculum was actually attending the collaborative lessons development training with the Carpentries, another really core organization connected to the SSI. And we got to do this because of contacts that we had made between the Carpentries and the SSI. And we had the first module of the course developed and hosted using the Carpentries workbench. We would have had to code the whole thing from scratch, the entire website, if we didn't have that contact with the Carpentries. And to run our pilot workshop, we got support from the SSI's generous bursary to support participants who joined this 2-day workshop, because it would otherwise have been slightly impossible to have people join for that long and fund their own participation, especially in a region where internet service is quite expensive. So let's talk events. As Oscar mentioned, a lot of fellows use their fellowship budget for external engagements by way of conferences like the Collaborations Workshop, which also happens to be Sarah's favorite conference every year. And you can also attend local conferences within your own space, whether outside, if not hosted by the SSI, you can go to conferences as long as you show concrete proof that these directly benefit your project, in which case this did. And of course, you see stickers on the right because the SSI also funded us to get stickers. How cool. And this was a full cycle moment for me. The year before I applied to the SSI fellowship, I had spent a significant amount of time engaging with the SSI at RSCCon 24, and it was really nice to be able to stand next to the banner and celebrate being a fellow myself. And the best part, definitely for sure, the best part is the people that you will meet through the fellowship. On the left is Kathleen Glass, who is my favorite person on earth. Sorry, Sarah. She got me ice cream. I had to. And Dr. Alexander was my fellowship mentor, who also made it possible for me to speak at the University of St. Andrews, funded, of course, by the uni. And more photos from the Teaching and Training SIG and All Fellows events, which happened just last month in Manchester, which is also a proof to you that beyond your fellowship year, you get to keep engaging as much as you want with the rest of the SSI family. We have a joke where we say that the SSI is kind of like a cult, because once you join, you try to get as many of your friends to join as well. So yeah, a huge thanks to the SSI for making it possible to come this far with our project, and I'm super excited for the things that are to come. So if I could come from a nursing background and also get into the fellowship, maybe that's proof that your machine learning project or physics is just the right fit for the fellowship as well. And of course, feel free to reach out with all your questions about the fellowship. Or one of the exciting things that has happened since I became a fellow was actually helping other people become fellows. So feel free to reach out with your ideas. Goodbye. How do I stop screen share? There.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you. That's really great. And yeah, so in the previous one, we saw like community building and sort of risk registers. In this one, it's training, with a lot of focus on. So if you're focused on developing some kind of training, we work very closely with carpentry and other organizations. It's definitely part of possible fellowship plans, but do reach out to us if you have any questions or ideas. Sarah, then, last but not least.
Yes, hello. Debs is no longer my favorite person after that comment, and also because about 10 minutes into this seminar starting, she told me that she'd found slides, whereas we were texting last night and we both agreed we weren't going to do slides. So yeah. So hello everyone, my name's Sarah Gibson. I was made an SSI fellow in 2020, and if the sound of that year continues to make your toes curl and a sharp intake of breath, that probably says a lot about my fellowship as well. But at the time that I applied, I was a budding research software engineer at the Alan Turing Institute, and I was working a lot in open source with Project Jupyter and the Turing Way, and particularly a project called mybinder.org, which is a free public website that can automatically build your Git project software dependencies and launch them into the cloud and give you a shareable URL to send to your PhD supervisor who's too busy to install your software and all that kind of stuff. And my projects at the time was Binder was a tool that was meant to be language agnostic in terms of, excuse me, it would work for, it was basically running package managers. So there was a suite of supported package managers, but it was built by a Python team, which meant that particularly people in the R community and the Julia community felt like Binder wasn't serving them as well as it was serving people who wrote Python repos. My project's idea was to kind of do like birds of a feather kind of sessions, get out into these different communities and figure out how can we improve the Binder experience for other community members using different tooling, and how can we get them involved into the maintainership. And I had this whole plan. I was going to do the trifecta of Jupyter conferences, which was JuliaCon, EuroPython, and useR in the European version of useR. And I did attend all of these from my living room. So yeah, I found it quite difficult to kind of like get that momentum going during that time. It was difficult period for all of us, but I think that reflects really greatly on the SSI and this fellowship in the terms that people's plans change, people change jobs and do something completely different, and it's totally fine to like pivot your projects or not complete it in the way that you were hoping to. Um, I know that right now, as you're thinking about applying, probably all you're thinking about is what project can I do that will fit this box? But actually, the greatest contribution you can make to the SSI is by joining and being yourself as well and becoming part of the network. And like as Deb said, one of the best things you get out of this experience is the network that you build. People who care about the same topic, but from like slightly different perspectives, whether it's engineering or, sustainability and like environmental sustainability or policy or whatever. And you just get like that broader set of perspectives to bounce your ideas off. And so because I'm quite a senior fellow now, having done mine 6 years ago, I also wanted to talk more about what happens after your fellowship ends as well. We've already heard the phrase once a fellow, always a fellow. There has been the new professional development fund as well for fellows who are outside of their cohort year to keep engaged and everything. And that really helped me during the last year when I became unemployed and needed to find a new job. And I was able to apply to that fund in order to get me professional development coaching to successfully get me back into work. And then I didn't use all of that budget, and I pivoted my coaching to be a neurodivergent affirming work coach as well, which has like really helped me think, kind of like work through certain situations at work that come up because my brain works slightly differently to everybody else's. And it's like that level of support and inclusion that keeps going on after the fellowship that makes this a really beneficial community to join. It really is, as much as it is about saying, like, I did this project and here's evidence of my leadership skills on a CV, it really is a community that you join and people will gather around you and support you. And you do that back in turn as well. So yeah, I made like a whole load of notes, and then Oscar like hit on most of them in his introduction. But I think this fellowship is great for like pilot projects. It's not a great deal of money, but I think like what Debs did, setting up pre-seeds, great example of piloting something, and then you can take that as like, well, we got the prototype and shown that it's worked, and you can take that to bigger grants and stuff as you work through your career. And I would just highly encourage everybody to apply. And yeah, every year there are always fantastic projects, and everybody's trying to do some cool things. And yes, we are a little bit self-selecting because someone said, hey, that's a great idea, you should take it to the SSI. And the fact that you're here means someone has probably said that to you and your idea is great. So it's a really great community to join, and I highly recommend that everybody apply. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Two things. Sorry to have stolen your thunder, Sarah. But thank you for that. No, two things. So one thing I should note that in the selection process, it's mostly fellows choosing fellows, which is quite unique to these fellowship programs. So every application will be reviewed about 3 times by 3 different fellows from all different years. So it's quite extensive that you get, and that's why we encourage also talk to current fellows, because they'll be the ones judging your application. Although if you've talked to them, they probably won't review your application, but that's my job. Now the other thing I wanted to mention as well is the fellowship program really operates on a life happens basis. So, if things change in career, in your life, then we're very flexible. We're always supportive. And one thing that we've also found is you might come with a certain idea, but one of the really big benefits of joining this fellowship program is you get to engage with a lot of other people. And then suddenly you think, oh, actually, this thing is also pretty cool. Let's do this, or change this, or you have a conversation with your mentor, or you have a conversation with another fellow. And we're very flexible with that as well. So just come and talk to us. And it's not that we want you get approval for doing something different, but we just want to make sure that we support you in the best possible way if you change those plans. But there's a lot of flexibility. And one of the things that people do say is that when after joining the fellowship program, they get exposed to a lot of new opportunities and collaborations and networks. And we want you to make the most of that. So don't feel limited by any plans you've submitted. Very briefly, I just want to finish the slide. Can you see my slides here? Yep. So please do submit your questions. We're all starting from the beginning here. One thing I just wanted to mention is in terms of further experiences, that we have a lot of information on the website as well. So there's a lot of blog posts. These are all linked on our fellowship program. So if you go to a fellowship program, you see a lot of blog posts here. There's also stories from the SSI fellowship program on that same site where we've interviewed, or our researcher, Anita Banerjee, has interviewed a few fellows about their experience of the fellowship. There's a few studies on there as well. And there's a lot of podcasts as well. So in the last few years, we have given the opportunity to fellows to participate in the Code for Thought podcast, which is one of our fellows who set that up as well. So you'll have an opportunity to do some podcasting as well if you're interested in that. And for you as applicants, you can hear about that. I should also say, in a couple of weeks, there'll be a podcast, very scarily by myself and Schwabe, about the fellowship program that will come out. So I've done some podcasting as well, and it is scary but very useful. So I'm curious how that is going to come out. But yeah, something to highlight there as well. Then I will now move on to the Q&A, and thanks so much for our fellows again for sharing their experiences. Please add there's a few people who have added questions in the chat, but please also feel free to add them to the Slido. We will stop the recording here, but some transcription will continue, but we won't publish that. But it allows us to gather some of the questions into our Q&A.